I'm Sarah Donchi. In an age where everything is supposed to be more convenient, some people say it feels like they're taking a big step back when it comes to shopping at some local stores. Everything from lotion to cold medicine, beauty products, all under lock and key at some San Francisco chains. This Walgreens store actually chained up its ice cream freezers because employees told us shoplifters were clearing them out on a regular basis. And if you want to buy anything, you need to spend the time tracking down the employees who have the keys. Self-checkout was supposed to make getting what you need from a store faster and easier, but it seems to have had some unintended consequences. And now, shoppers at some stores tell Betty Yu the shopping experience of the future is now a thing of the past.
This Safeway here on Webster Street is one of a number of stores in San Francisco that has removed its self-checkout stands. Workers here tell me it's because of rampant shoplifting. As soon as you walk into this Safeway in the Fillmore, you're greeted by gates designed to deter shoplifting. Empty checkout aisles also have gates, and the exit doors are permanently closed on the other side of the store. A security guard told me the store recently added more guards to deal with thieves. And Safeway completely removed its self-checkout kiosks.
You have a good day. Thank you.
Shortly after it installed these high-tech gates over the summer. Mike Reddick is a regular customer who says it's not unusual to witness blatant shoplifting.
Seeing, like I said, two guys stuffing packages of chicken into their backpacks. And when I came and told the security people about it, they said, well, there's nothing we can do. We have to see them in action.
A few moments later.
And current NAACP president for San Francisco, Dr. Reverend Amos Brown says the closure is history repeating itself in the Fillmore, and it's creating a food desert.
This community has been economically deprived for over 50 years. And it's time now that we stop this kind of exclusionary, gentrifying activity.
All right, guys, so we have to go out to Cuckoo for Cocoa Puff World, and this time we have to visit San Francisco once again to talk about the consequences of voting Democrat and progressive, because progressive criminal justice reform is the biggest domestic terror threat to this country, and I will continue to stand by that. Again, that's one of the reasons why I do so many of these stories, because it is a cautionary tale about what you get when you vote for progressive Democrats and the consequences of your vote. And unfortunately, the black community, black people, are facing a lot of consequences when it comes to who they have voted for historically, especially in these inner liberal cities. And that's what this story is about, as the black residents of San Francisco are raging. Okay, they're melting down. They're basically crying racism. Okay, they're not directly crying racism, but they're indirectly basically saying that this is racist. That this Safeway is selling their property and moving out of the community because of financial problems. Now, the Safeway is saying that, well, it's not exactly because of shoplifting. We're not going to cite that as the official reason. We're just having financial performance issues, right? And it's just not meeting expectations. Now, that just so happens to coincide with this news clip that I showed you guys at the beginning of this video, where it clearly shows Safeways in San Francisco having to deal with shoplifting problems, again, to the point where, again, they're having to spend money on high-tech security guards, you know, all types of technology and resources in order to combat shoplifting. That really makes it hard to turn a profit, especially in a low-margin industry like grocery, where shrink is a big deal when you're talking about profits, okay? And shrink essentially is just the loss of inventory, and shrink that is a result of shoplifting, theft, dishonest behavior is estimated by the industry to make up about 40% of overall shrink. So you can imagine, from a business perspective, in an industry like grocery, where the average margin is between 1% to 3%, shrink that is a result of shoplifting is a big deal, right? It makes it extremely hard to operate financially. And we saw stories out in Chicago where Walmart decided to leave that community. The Chicago residents came out and cried racism. It is racist that Walmart is leaving because they're being shoplifted out of existence. So we have a similar story here out in San Francisco, where the black residents and the NAACP are boohoo, whining, and crying saying that, well, they're creating a food desert. They're trying to move the blacks out, right? They are gentrifying the neighborhood because of Safeway leaving. So I want to talk about it, but before we get into it, we have to have a word from the sponsor of this video, Noble Gold. If you're trying to navigate market turbulence, why not set a course to the Noble Gold Investment Safe Haven? With global uncertainty looming, your savings and retirement plan are under siege. But there's one asset that has stood the test of time, and that is gold. Unlock the peace of mind that comes with owning gold, the ultimate safe haven. And if precious metals are new to you, Noble Gold will hold your hand throughout the whole process. They have a team of experts that will guide you through every step on your way to safety. Thousands of investors have sheltered their retirement savings with Noble Gold Investments. Don't leave yourself exposed to the markets right now. It's just way too risky. With gold near an all-time high and looking to climb even higher, it's the perfect time. Open a Noble Gold Investments IRA and secure your future with a free silver virtue coin. Act now before it's too late. Call 877-646-5347 and claim your free coin before it's gone. Or visit noblegoldinvestments.com now. That is noblegoldinvestments.com, the only gold company that I trust. And just remember, there's a risk with every investment and there's no guarantee of any kind.
Critical store. This is like the store for all the elderly in the neighborhood. They can walk over here. There's no stairs. Easy in, easy out.
It's not helping the black community. It's not helping the homeless. It's not helping us at all.
Tonight, it's the very real human cost of a neighborhood closure. The Safeway in San Francisco's Fillmore district is set to shut down, and the community says it's more than just a bag of groceries. Neighbors in the Fillmore and Western Addition neighborhoods are still angry tonight, saying if this plan goes through, it will have long-term negative implications on the city's black community. The announced closure for that store in the heart of the city on Webster Street came late last week. Tonight, ABC 7 News reporter J.R. Stone is hearing the calls from neighbors and community leaders and brings us this story.
In less than 2 months, this Safeway grocery store will close, according to executives.
You're gutting it. You're just gutting the neighborhood.
Community members are outraged, saying seniors and handicapped individuals have been forgotten about. Those with Safeway say they have entered into an agreement to sell the 3+ acre site to a real estate company for a mixed-use development project to include housing and commercial retail space.
Yeah, so I want you guys to understand what's happening here, okay? So you have these residents who happen to be black that are complaining about Safeway selling their property to a commercial real estate company to essentially create more housing, right? They want to make it a housing development. And the problem is that, you know, this is going to create a food desert, okay? They're saying that, well, we're not going to have a grocery store nearby, and you're essentially moving goods and services out of the neighborhood that, you know, black people depend on. Now, here's the thing. It's not just black people who are complaining about this, even though that's the way that this news story is kind of framing it. You also have other so-called minorities, like, for example, the Japanese. They're also complaining about it, and they're not happy.
Safeway has to wake up.
More outrage over Safeway's announcement that they will close this Western Addition grocery store come March.
The impact they're having on the community. I mean, the way that this thing was done, I mean, it's just...
Paul Osaki is executive director of the Japanese Cultural and Community Center of Northern California. He says this will directly impact those in Japantown when it comes to getting food, fresh produce, medicine, and money, leaving no store like this within at least a mile.
Japantown has one of the highest density of seniors in the city.
Yeah, so it's not just the black residents that are complaining, right? Just residents in general are complaining about this, whether it be black, Asian, whatever, right? And I want you guys to notice the common denominator in regards to who they're blaming, okay? They're blaming the business for making a business decision to sell their store, to sell their property because it's not profitable, okay? They can't make any money as if they're obligated to operate in the area simply because they are a grocery store. And if they leave, then there won't be any food nearby, right? So they're obligated to stay there despite the fact they can't make any money. Instead of blaming the policies and the conditions that created an environment where the business could not operate at a financial profit that would incentivize them to stay. Again, that's basically what's wrong with this story. And I want you guys, again, to notice who they're blaming here and who they're not blaming.
They need to really do things about taking things from the inner city that we need, and then you're developing housing. Housing for who? The homeless? You need to do better than that.
It is a destruction of a community. And those thoughts from Dr. Amos Brown of the NAACP are echoed by those that live in the Western Addition, who believe this will directly impact low-income Black and Asian communities. Mayor London Breed told our partners at the SF Standard this is a real and rare opportunity to add a significant amount of new homes in this part of our city and even a new grocery store.
Now, they claim that Trader Joe's will be moving into the neighborhood, even though the build out for it hasn't started yet. Okay, so I'm not sure exactly how Trader Joe's is going to survive in the long term if Safeway, that's been in this neighborhood for 40 years, can't survive. But again, notice how they're not blaming the criminals. They're not blaming the politicians for their policies that have allowed the criminals to essentially rob this Safeway out of business to the point where, again, they decided, you know what? It's just better for us to sell, right? It's just better for us to move up on out of here. We can't make any money because of all the shoplifting. No, they don't talk about that. That's not mentioned at all, even though, in my opinion, regardless of what Safeway says, if they're experiencing financial difficulties and they're having to spend all this money on shoplifting, okay, or to prevent shoplifting, which they are, right, then, yeah, I mean, the main reason is shoplifting. They just don't want to say it because if they come out and overtly say, well, it's because, you know, you got a lot of people that happen to be in this so-called Black and brown neighborhood, right, this community of color, a lot of you guys are stealing and robbing from us, right? They'll overtly come out here and say, well, Safeway is racist. I mean, they're blaming Safeway regardless, okay? But we all know what's happening. What's happening is that Safeway can't operate because of thugs and criminals, and the thugs and criminals are not getting the blame. Safeway is getting the blame, right? It's their fault that they don't want to operate in an unprofitable area. Again, it's amazing.
But plans for a new grocery store have not been solidified, and community members we spoke with took target at the mayor.
And for London to not even fight for the Black community, to have this store stay here for the Blacks, it seems like they're just moving all the Blacks out.
So you're blaming the mayor on this?
I blame London because I think London should have done more. She was raised in this area.
Yeah, so I want you guys to understand what she's doing is that she's blaming the mayor for not forcing Safeway to stay because they're essentially now trying to draft legislation to strong arms Safeway into staying in an unprofitable area.
San Francisco Supervisor Dean Preston has introduced legislation calling on Safeway to reverse their plan to close the grocery store. Hoop dream? Maybe. But last year the supervisor did, with the help of the community, get CVS to reverse plans on closing a store in the Lower Haight.
They need to understand that shutting down a grocery store on 60-day notice in the heart of the Fillmore with the history of redevelopment and displacement from that neighborhood, with the number of seniors who rely on this place, it's not okay.
This Safeway does have a history of theft problems. The store even installing gates inside.
Right, that's what they're trying to do in order to keep the Safeway open, at the very least until a new grocery store gets built in the area, right? But again, they're not mentioning the fact that Democrats are soft on crime, okay? They're actually just mad that the Democrats aren't forcing Safeway to stay, right? Again, it's just amazing. But hey, this is par for the course when it comes to these communist-run cities, and the residents have nobody to blame but themselves, okay? Themselves and the politicians, because they're the ones that voted for criminals to be able to rob stores out of business, okay? Because that lady's talking about, oh, well, she's not looking out for the Black community. Well, again, you know, Mayor London Breed was a progressive, okay? And she came out here and said, hey, I'm looking out for the Black community by being soft on crime because locking up Blacks is racist, right? That's a racist thing to do. And you people, okay, Black people, more specifically, especially Black women, there's a 95% chance that they went out and voted for a Democrat, right? They voted for the policies that they're complaining about because at the time, the policies were thought to be looking out for the black community, right? Looking out for the black community in the post-George Floyd era is being soft on crime and not locking up black people, punishing black people for crimes, letting black people destroy their own neighborhoods. That was looking out for black people because, again, policing is racist. Remember that, right? Remember that when you're talking about why is she not looking out for the black community? Well, she was, right? The progressive form of looking out for the black community, which was basically destroying the black community, and that's what these people voted for.
Supervisor Dean Preston's office says they reached out to Safeway and the developer to explore the possibility of including a grocery store as part of any planned development at the site.
They need to stop the car, slow things down, and permit this black community to get aboard and include us.
Closure of this store means that shoppers will have to travel more than a mile to another Safeway or Lucky Supermarket, a little more than half a mile if and when a new Trader Joe's opens in Hayes Valley. J.R. Stone, ABC 7 News.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that, okay? This is the consequences of your vote, right? When you vote progressive, when you vote Democrat, when you vote for soft on crime policies, when you vote for progressive criminal justice reform, these are the consequences, okay? These are the consequences. And it really sucks that people have to actually live through the consequences of their vote to understand that, hey, these are the negative consequences of my vote, right? It's really a damn shame. But again, no mention of blaming criminals, okay? No mention of blaming the shoplifters. They all try to blame the store. And when they do blame the mayor, they're not blaming the mayor for the right reasons, right? They're not citing the soft on crime policies. They're essentially blaming the mayor for not being more communist, right? Why don't you just force the store to stay open, right? Don't allow them to leave, right? Okay, well, again, you know, why are they leaving in the first place? Well, they're leaving due to financial difficulties, okay? Why are they having financial difficulties? Shoplifting, theft. I mean, they've been there for 40 years, right? It's either that or Joe Biden's economy. Either way, Democrat policies are responsible. So again, it sucks that people got to walk a mile to go to the grocery store or drive a mile to go to the grocery store or whatever. I'm not necessarily sure if I would consider that a food desert per se. Okay, a mile is not that far away, but I get it. For seniors, it can be tough, right? It can be tough to get groceries if you got to go a whole mile to go get groceries. I get that, but hey, you should have been thinking about the seniors. You should have been thinking about the consequences or what could potentially happen when you came out here and you voted for soft on crime policies and Democrats and woke progressives. It is what it is. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.